So, not that long ago, Misc a Tiny Tale was released on Nintendo Switch. For those who haven't seen or tried it yet, give it a shot. It's super cozy, isn't too long, and is a truly unforgettable story. Every corner of this game is packed with care, down to even the smallest details. For instance, just look at this sign. You can actually read it. And I'm not just meaning like walking up to it and pressing A. I mean Tinyware Games actually made a whole alphabet for this game. So today, I was gonna comb through the whole adventure, finding every piece of text I can and figuring out what they say. Needless to say, this video will have massive spoilers for the game. You don't want this game spoiled for you, trust me. So if you haven't played the game yet, I appreciate you stopping by, but your stop's here, and the bus is still going, so let's get into it. Once you 100% the game, you're given the final gallery section. Side note, I love when games show you pieces of their development. It's what makes the art feel a lot more personal, you know? Seeing what once was and what could have been. Anyway, one of the pages in the final gallery section is a decoder for the game's language. It's pretty straightforward, with each letter of the Latin alphabet corresponding to their own new symbol. There's not many changes to punctuation. The first thing they do is give exclamation points a little zazz! But also question marks look like little swirlies now. I like this idea. I'm taking this into my own penmanship now. Along the trail, I did find some funky points to keep an eye on though. For instance, see these 4 dots? That's a lowercase u. But if I poke it just a little, now it's an uppercase M. Lowercase e looks just like uppercase T, but with the first 2 lines getting real nice and comfy and leaving the 3rd line to third wheel. And sometimes when the textures get real small, it's hard to tell lowercase a's from c's from s. It's like one of those eye exams, but this time there's lore. But with some context of the letters around them, you'll be able to figure it out eventually. Now, with all that out of the way, let's dive on in. We'll work our way down the line, starting from level 1. So the first thing most players are probably going to see is these signs. And, actually every single sign has the same texture throughout the whole game, so once you've translated one, you don't need to worry about any others, I've noticed. And the translation itself just says, "Dear reader, please read this sign." And if you look in the corner, it's even signed by the sign guy himself. Moving on, the next thing we'll have is the save statue. Along the front, it says, "The one with the answers, the origin, the beginning." And while it says those same things on the side, there's also one new line of text. "The giant robot whom protected our land." Moving on to Adam's house in level 2, there's some blueprints inside of Adam's house. Let's start with the frog windup. It just says frog in the top corner here. This line of text says, "This windup shows no signs of emotion or thought. Could it be used to help bots?" And the translations of the diagrams themselves say, "Tin body, spring powered, and tough body." More research is needed. Moving on to the floating platform though, this line of text says, "Using those magnets from the scrap field was a great idea. They can float very high." The diagrams themselves translate to power cable and magnetic force, but interestingly, the word force is spelt with the letter U in it. Moving on to the Scorched Kingdom, the first thing you'll probably see in this level is the sign about required attire. Translating this one says, "Cat ears required! Purchase package." Starting in level 3 and then sprinkled throughout the rest of the game is Adam's wanted poster. Translating this says, "Beware!" in all caps. "Potentially dangerous robot." And I love how they have to underline dangerous to emphasize it. My poor boy. Next up is the Queen's poster here. Translating this says, "I want you to wear a cat hat." Obviously being a riff on those old "I want you" posters with Uncle Sam. So the first house on the right in town has a sign on it, and translating it says, "She gives us home. She gives us love. Small but mighty, our queen." The sign outside of Tizzy's house says, "No dogs allowed." And on the house to the left of Viv's, there's a poster. Translating this one says, "Praise our queen. Love our queen. Respect our queen. Or else." So actually, I had a bit of a hard time reading this text here, with it being on sand and all. So I ended up asking the developers if they were willing to let me see the uncompressed file. And let me tell you, they delivered and then more. Genuinely, these folks are awesome for letting me show y'all this. Their director Michael not only showed me the textures I was having a hard time reading, but a few more we'll go over later that aren't that visible in the game at all. So a massive thanks to everyone over at Tinyware for the help. But with the raw textures of text in hand, we can finally translate the Queen's Tower. A long time ago, there was a wasteland with nothing but dust and sand in the heat. Then one day, a kingdom was formed. All who followed were showered with goods. The one who ruled them all was none other than the Queen, a rare and powerful being. But the prophecy speaks of one who is out there, the lone king who will save us all. Moving on to the Shivering Shed, there's really only one thing I want to translate in this level, and it's not even in the Misc language, it's actually in Korean. Translating this baseball here says, "Let's play! Baseball!" Moving on to the Melodic Meadows, the main thing I wanted to translate here is that manga and Circuit's house. The comic itself is written in Japanese, and all of its text translates to Electric Superhero, Biggest Hero, Maximum Style! He is so cool! And volume. Moving on to the factory, the text on Buddy's button actually just says his name, Buddy. There's a sign to the left of the Can't Do store in the Forgotten Fields, and I actually noticed when translating it that it's flipped horizontally. But translating it says shop and spare parts. So moving on to the final level, this is where most of the lore is gonna be. These lore cards on the ground of Proto's workshop were the other texture I was having a hard time reading, actually. You know, with the sun kind of gleaming down on them while you're reading and all. So once again, I really appreciate you guys sending those textures. And after being able to translate them, I actually noticed it's one continuing story. You can even see it get chopped off mid-sentence and continue on in the next part sometimes. But once translated, here's what it says. With companies getting more power and humans losing their rights, it was a losing battle fighting for things to get better. They chased endless growth, something that simply isn't possible in the long term. Greed. But there's more to the story that's missing. Humans have had greed take over them for all of time. Something changed. It all makes me wonder where we came from. These humans were much like us, wondering the same about them. It seems an origin has always been a mystery for beings regardless of their form. Will we ever have an answer one day? How did humans go from existing one day to us replacing them? Technology had only advanced so far. We saw environments shift vastly, quicker than ever before. Acid rain, black tar, an extreme of cold and heat. The world changed because the humans didn't care about the future. They only cared about short-term gain. And finally, we have those textures from Proto's workshop that are kind of hard to see in gameplay. The first one here is a picture of a sprout. And translating it, it says, "Can we use this?" Plants cover the world and seem to grow on their own. And the second of which is a picture of the Earth. Translated, it says, "An orb of some kind. Is this somehow our world?" And that's everything. Translating all of this was a lot of fun. It really takes me back to the old days as a Zelda fan. You know, running around Hyrule trying to translate every sign you can legibly read. And there's a lot of implicative lore sprinkled throughout these texts. And I'd love to just ramble about my thoughts about that, but I'm gonna work on a separate theories video. Maybe more depending on how much I have to talk about it. Anyway, I'm pretty sure I didn't leave any stone unturned. Unless I did. And if that's the case, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to do an update if I have to. But until the next Misc video, let's all keep making a difference.